action at the World Series of Poker is really heating up. 10% of the events have already begun and 7 gold bracelets have been awarded.
Today is one of those really busy days we were telling you about. We have 2 final tables going on, 2 day 2s, and 2 new events. And this is just one of the first days where you're going to see 6 events going on at one time. It's going to be very exciting from this point forward, so make sure you keep an eye out for what's going on.
Now, the $1,000 event with rebuys is at the final table right now. There were 8 players remaining as of press time.
And at the beginning of the day, our chip leader starting it off for this ESPN televised final table was Mr. Amir Vahidi. I saw Amir earlier today. He's in great spirits. He's happy as usual, but he really wants to take this one down.
He's ready for another bracelet.
He really is ready for another bracelet. That is for sure.
Now, the other final table going on right now is the $1,500 Omaha 8 or Better event.
That's right, and going into this event, our chip leader is John Varner, but also at this final table is Brian Devonshire, another, once again, good friend of card player.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be great to watch Brian try to take this one down, but of course, best of luck to everybody else at the final table too.
So day 2 of the $2,000 No Limit event was today, and the chip leader is Sean Deeb.
Also remaining in that event are Phil Hellmuth, Mimi Tran, and Captain Tom Franklin. And we don't have to tell you that with Phil Hellmuth still remaining in the event, the tension builds as he is going to break the record for most bracelets. He's going for number 11, so keep your eye out on that event.
And he really wants to break that record first. It's definitely something that would please Phil.
Really? You think that would get to Phil's head a little bit?
Oh, I think
holding
so.
the record? For,
I think so. Maybe we can ask him.
You think he really wants to win it?
Also going into day 2 today was the $5,000 7-card stud World Championship. Now the chip leader right now is Theo Jorgensen.
Other pros remaining in the field include Johnny Chan, Cindy Violette, Eli Alezra, Phil Ivey, and stud specialist and stud Paul Darden.
Today at noon, the 6-handed No Limit event began, and at 5 o'clock, there was a satellite it was a $2,500 satellite into the $50,000 horse event, which is really nice for people that would like to play that game, but don't have $50,000 to buy into a tournament.
Now, I kind of wondered about this one. If you don't have the $50,000 to buy in, do you think you're good enough to play in a $50,000 horse event? I think you're kind of almost dead money. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's an interesting theory. I think it's nice to give people a chance, though. I mean, it's poker. That's the beauty of poker.
Right, but if you won a $2,500 satellite and you got $50,000 for it, don't you think you would just take the $50,000?
Do they have to use it to buy into the tournament, or can they take the $50,000?
Well, the way it works down at the Rio is that if you win a satellite, you get tournament chips. And you can't sell back the tournament chips. What you can do is you can sell the tournament chips to another player.
Okay.
So, I don't know. And you don't have to use the tournament chips for anything specific. So, I don't know. What would you do if you won a satellite to the 50,000 horse? Would you play in it or
I
sell
would play it, and I would win it, just like Chip did last year.
Yeah, all right, whatever you say. Event number 5 ended a few days ago, and Tom Schneider emerged with the gold bracelet. Now, Tom is a self-proclaimed Omaholic, but he decided to play this split event, and it's a good thing he did.
Tom, you just took down event number 5, which was the split Omaha high-low and 7-card stud high-low event. What was it like to win your bracelet right there?
It was a great time. It was a great time, and I really was never nervous, even though I had some great players at the table. But I really was very calm throughout the whole process, except for one time where I gave some money to Annie.
So I heard you weren't even planning on playing that event. Is that true?
That's true. I really love Pot Limit Omaha, and I can't stand Stud 8 or Better. That's my least favorite game. I don't think I play it horribly, but I don't think I play it as well as a lot of other people. But I just don't like the game, and I learned to like it.
What made you decide to play?
I wanted something to do, and I really didn't feel like playing in a cash game. I don't know why. I just thought, I'll play in this tournament, I'll get knocked out early, then I'll go play in a cash tournament.
So I know that you've just said you like Omaha better. That's one of the games that you prefer to play. What do you think about the fact that Omaha is kind of, some people call it a dying game? It's being taken out of card rooms, being replaced with more hold'em tables.
Right. I actually think that that trend is going to reverse. I think as the World Series starts showing some more, I believe that some of these webcasts that are being done, and as the World Series starts showing more split pot games and things like that, they'll actually come back because they're a lot of fun, and I think every player should know all the poker games.
So going into the final table, were you very confident? Did you think you were going to win a bracelet?
I actually did, and I don't know why, because those aren't my best games. But I had the chip lead almost the whole tournament, and I just kept catching cards. And as long as the cards ran over me, and I felt like I played pretty well, except for 1 or 2 hands the whole tournament. But I really felt like I was going to win it, and I haven't had that feeling before in a tournament, which is very strange.
So what was it like playing with some top-notch pros at that final table? It was with Chris Ferguson, Annie Duke, John Fenn was there. What was that like?
I have played with all of them. I've played in a lot of cash games with John Fenn.
So you felt familiar with their play a little bit?
Yeah, I've played with Annie Duke one time. I thought she actually played the best of all the players there.
Was there any hand in particular that was like a turning point for you in the tournament?
There were 2 hands in the tournament that were turning points for me. In the stud 8 or better round, I had a pretty big chip lead, but I was in a huge pot with a guy I know from Phoenix. I started with a pair of 6s. And he bet on 5th Street, 6th Street, and 7th Street, and he had a jack, king, and a 10 up. And I called him just with a pair of 6s on the river, and no one at the table could believe I could call with a pair of 6s with that kind of a board, and starting with jack, and I won the pot.
Wow.
But I know his reputation. He likes to get people off the hand. So that was a big pot. And then there was a pot in the Omaha 8 or better at the final table, where I had a nut low draw, and Omaha Ed and Annie and I were in the pot. A big card came, a straight card, like a jack, so there was all I needed was an ace-queen for a straight or queen-9 for a straight. I decided to, he bet out, I raised, Annie folded, and he folded real quickly. So that was it was a huge pot, it was a 3-way pot, and I had no hand, so that was it's hard to bluff in Omaha.
What did it mean to you to win that bracelet?
Really, I'd like to be able to say I've won a World Series of Poker event. I'm not a jewelry wearer, as you can tell. So
Where's the bracelet right now?
It's back at the room, and I'm going to give it to my dad to wear because he wears more jewelry than Mr. T. So yeah, and then I got to win one for my wife too. So I got to win 3 this year.
So how many more events are you going to be playing?
I'm going to play in as many as I possibly can. I really wanted this year to be the year where I focused on trying to win as many events. I'd like to make it to 3 final tables. I'd like to make a run at the World Series Poker Player of the Year. I've really never spent that much time playing tournaments, but I want to focus on that and see what I can do.
So, Tom, you just wrote a book. It just came out. Why don't you tell us about it?
It's entitled Oops, I Won Too Much Money, and it's subtitled Winning Wisdom from the Boardroom to the Poker Table. I used to be a CEO of a public golf company, and so I have a lot of business experience, and I've got poker experience, and I've combined the two, and at the end of each story there's like a moral, and it's like what I call a winning wisdom, and it's really life lessons, and it's intended to be entertaining and funny, and it's doing real well.
And you also have a radio show, right?
I do. It's actually a poker podcast. It's called Beyond the Table. It's downloadable on iTunes or beyondthetable.com.
And what do you guys talk about?
We talk about poker sometimes. It's really a poker podcast, but it's really intended to be very funny and humorous, and it's the funniest show on the internet, I promise.
Tom has been around for a while. He's heavily involved in the poker industry with his, poker radio show and his book. He's done businesses. It's great to see guys like that win bracelets.
Speaking of funny guys, the Prince of Poker, Scotty Nguyen, was here in the studio earlier today. He told us about why he changed professions from poker dealer to poker player, and about the very last hand he ever dealt.
You know Doug Dalton,
yes.
The poker manager at Bellagio right here. And I know him. He said, like, I'm gonna run the tournament in Lake Tahoe. You wanna come with? You wanna do up there? I said, yeah. I never been out of Vegas, So I said, yeah. And how I'm gonna stay? Don't worry. We're gonna give you the room free, everything free. Sounds good. So I asked my boss, can I go for a couple of weeks? He said, yeah, Scotty, go. I go up there. I deal about 6 days. I made about 1,100. Plus I get about 300-400, so I get about 1,400 total. And then one day I deal the CIA game. One of the high limit player, I keep busting him. And he gets so frustrated, and he starts, it's like, you have to do this. You have to box, shuffle, thing like that. He starts teaching me here and show me how to deal. And before he do that, he keep cussing at me, throw cards at me, And then finally, I'm just like, I have enough. So when he starts, you got to do this, you got to do that, I pick up the whole deck, I throw it at him. I said, why don't you do? So I just walk. People would, my friend, like, what you doing? What you doing? I'm quit, man. I'm not going to stop playing.
It's a good thing that guy busted Scotty's balls, or he might not be the man we know today.
Thus concludes tonight's episode of Poker Tonight, but be sure to check back tomorrow. We'll have more news, more happenings from around the World Series of Poker, and of course, more interviews with the pros. Good night.
Good night, everybody.